Welcome again. It's the Ag Commodity Corner Plus. It's July 3rd.
Hey, everybody.
And happy Canada Day to our Canadian watchers as well to our U.S. watchers for the July 4th. Our title this week is End of June USDA Crop Reports a Dud. U.S. corn crop conditions 73% good to excellent. Plus whisper trade deals. We'll get into that. But before we do that, let's look at our summary weekly corn quote chart. It's a short week because tomorrow's Friday and it's July 4th holiday in the U.S. Markets are closed. And you can see to end the week, corn, oats, beans were all higher. We'll get into why. CME lean hogs lost some momentum there. Last week we talked about how it felt like the hogs were a little bit top heavy. It's just a seasonal thing. It's that time of the year. So we'll see if we can recover. Maybe we'll get into that here in our presentation. And then of course the funds were still chasing those stocks like they have been the last 2-3 years. We mentioned this last time. We hit a roadblock, a hiccup at the beginning of the year because of Trump tariffs. Everybody thought that tariffs would, destroy profits and revenue, and it's done very little harm to most companies. So, let's start off with the USDA reports. They were a big disappointment this week.
Yep. So this week started off with those key reports from the USDA, which turned out to be neutral more than anything else. The much-awaited reports did not bring about any fireworks. More, the numbers as far as corn is concerned came in at 95.203 versus expected at 95.4. This is the most in terms of June acreage for corn since 2013. For soybeans, we came in at 83.4 versus expected at 83.7, and that is the least that we've had in the last 10 years and the lowest since 2020 more. All wheat acreage came in at 45.478 versus expected at 45.4.
Yeah, so acres came in a little bit lower than expected. So, maybe 100,000 less corn, a little bit less than that in the soybeans. The acres we lost in corn through this very southeast where it was really wet probably doesn't show up as prevent plant acres till August. Look, the Eastern Corn Belt, Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, they're going to be short corn. Yields are going to be short. Production's not there. The basis, I think, is going to remain strong right into 2026. So make sure you pay attention to that going forward.
And it was not just the acreage report that we got on that day. We had the quarterly grain stocks report from the USDA as well. So June 1 stocks came in at 4.644, very close to expected at 4.64, while soybeans and wheat came in higher than expected.
Yeah, a lot of people were looking for corn to surprise quarterly grain stocks report, maybe coming in 100, 200 million more bushels, but USDA didn't surprise with those numbers. Some were estimating that maybe the USDA was underestimating the U.S. corn crop from last year. So if it didn't show up in this report, it can show up in the end of September quarterly grain stocks report. So we'll have to wait another quarter.
The other big news, and you mentioned this earlier, was regarding the crop conditions, which came in at 73% good to excellent, which is the most in the last in the last 10 years, which was a surprise hike in corn conditions.
Yeah, so the trade now is talking about how this 73% is equating to about a 183 trendline yield. So they're talking 2 to 5% more above trend. They're getting very confident that corn production's growing. And, that would put the yield at 183 to 190. And I know you think that 190 is pie in the sky, and we've never hit that. But we could have hit that last year. Nobody's ever going to know because we had that dry finish. So we've had plenty of moisture in the month of the last 3 months. Plenty of moisture through July 18th, 19th. So if you get 4 or 5 inches of moisture through July, August, and a good finish, it's going to be a 185 or better. Who knows? The USDA could increase the yield in next Friday's USDA July crop report. And you can see from this chart, the corn yield chart. Farm Doc Daily has done a study going back 70 years, and the trend line in corn tends to increase by 1.92 bushels per acre per year. So, if you look at trend line at 181, could we fall, by the time it's all said and done, could we see a 183? Sure. Don't forget to sign up to our program. Try it. Love to teach you how to become a better marketer. This week we had our end of June USDA report post game plan. So we were telling our clients what to do. If you want to see that information, sign up and we'll email it to you.
Oh, the other big one as far as U.S. grains is concerned is the U.S. biofuel legislation, which everyone's been waiting for more. Renewed optimism as the tax bill with its 45Z provisions clears the necessary hurdles on its way to the president's desk. While the bill is a major step forward, the RVOs are still in their public comment period, and trade will await news on what will happen to those small refinery exemptions. So still some loose ends to be tied up, but nonetheless on the right track.
But this was one of the headline news this week that was driving soy oil higher. We almost hit new contract highs, closing contract highs. It helped canola as well as soybeans. And you can see in the legislation highlighted in yellow, whoops. I'm still learning how to use my vanishing pen. And then down here, it says basically that any feedstock for U.S. biofuel for 26-27 has to be made in the U.S., Mexico, or Canada. So because we had that trade-on, trade-off negotiations with Canada, at one point canola had collapsed and then it came back. So this is good news for farmers.
And sticking with that, as part of the big, beautiful bill, which actually passes Congress, the big win for ag includes a bunch of points. Firstly, you've got higher reference prices, Title I fixed for Farm Bill, positive changes to crop insurance, big boost in the trade market development funding, a bunch of ag-friendly tax provisions, and of course the positive news on the 45Z clean fuel program.
Yeah, this was a big win for Trump. It just shows you how much power he has. And it's a big win for farmers as well. I'm assuming Trump may talk about it at his meeting in Iowa tonight at 7:30. It's Trump's day. It's a big, beautiful day for Trump. Hopefully, he can celebrate it with some fireworks.
Going on to weather, and this is NOAA's latest update. No excessive heat is expected through at least the next 10 days, with warmer to much warmer than normal temps common into Saturday. And after that, temperatures are mostly not too far from normal.
Yeah, so if you look at the long-term forecast through July 18th and the 19th, you can see some heat right in here in this area, this northern plains, maybe even into, Western Canada. And as you go into that period, precipitation is centered around the very southern part of the United States. So again, we just don't see any threat to the forecast through at least mid-July.
Trump announced a trade deal with Vietnam, which was another one of those big headlines this week. Trump announced a trade deal which was expected to be the first of around 10 to be announced before the July 9th tariff deadline. The terms of the Vietnam agreement include a 20% tariff on imports from Vietnam and 40% on any transshipping, which will primarily impact China. And this is in return for the U.S. with zero tariff on goods sold into Vietnam, which was said to benefit auto sales, especially SUVs.
This was a small win for Trump and the team. we're moving in the right direction. And as Abhinash said earlier, we've got probably another 9 to be announced between now and July 9th. As you get into the July 9th, those countries that do not sign a deal with Trump will get a minimum 10% tariff across the board. So as long as that number is not 20 or 25 or 30, I think the markets will be fine with it. So, but tonight he's in Iowa. He's celebrating 250 years. And he's at 7:30 supposed to make an announcement. The rumor earlier in the week that was driving markets crazy, especially yesterday, was the fact that he was going to announce the whisper was that he was going to announce a Chinese trade deal. I'm hearing late breaking news as the markets closed early. Stock markets closed early. Grains closed at the same time. Was he's going to make some Chinese purchase agreements tonight? This morning we had 3 flash sales to USDA flash sales to China. They were small, but if you get, I think a phase 1 or revised phase 1 trade deal with China would be a boost, a spark for this time of the year for the grain markets. But purchase agreements would also be something good that could boost the market. So who knows, between a weather shift on Sunday night and an announcement tonight, we could see limit up on Monday. So just keep your powder dry. This thing could get very exciting on Monday. And Trump says, so this reminds me, going back to April 7th, when Trump said it's time to buy stocks, or a good time to buy stock. I can't remember the exact words, but I'm going to quote what Trump is going to say, what he said today. Trump did say that farmers are going to be very happy with what I say tonight. So looking forward to seeing what he has in store.
Yeah, the major headlines as far as trade is concerned is south of the border, involving the south of the border of the U.S. So USDA reopened the border to Mexican feeder cattle. The U.S. Secretary of Ag, Brooke Rollins, revealed a plan to gradually reopen ports for cattle, bison, and equine imports from Mexico, starting as soon as July the 7th. This decision comes after significant cooperation between the U.S. and Mexico to eradicate or otherwise battle the New World screwworm issue. And but the opening up of this border will happen in stages.
That is key, the stages. Everybody was suggesting that this could be bearish, both live and feeder cattle. But because you're bringing in feeder cattle from Mexico at stages, I think it's not going to overwhelm this market. So we still did close higher this week. Remember, long-term channel support, we've talked about this a few times, comes in at 294 for feeder cattle, 207.85 on live cattle. So nothing's really changed in terms of the bull market in cattle for now.
Also, Mo, just to spend another second on that.
Yep.
Feeder cattle chart, that is up by about 200% since its 2020 lows.
Whoops, I lost my chart. Sorry. Where the heck did it go? There it is. Sorry about that. Yeah, so quite the move. And then let's end with the CFTC report.
As far as the CFTC is concerned, more selling into the soy complex, but we had a little bit of buying in corn as of the latest report, which is as of the 24th of June. So corn, we are short almost 200,000 contracts if we look at it real time. We are long about 2,500 contracts in soybeans, short about 120,000 in Chicago wheat, and we are record long canola at almost 145,000 contracts.
So in real time, I think the funds were short over 200,000 from last week's ugly performance. Then it came this week. We rallied some, and I think we've covered some of that with the long weekend. I think some of these funds decided, hey, why don't we take some profits? They took some off the table on canola, but it could still be a record long position there, and I'm assuming the funds have taken some length off of those hogs. So remember, the next CFTC report's not out tomorrow because of the holiday. It'll be out on Monday. Until next week, thanks for watching. Don't forget to join our tour if you're from Ontario, and enjoy your holiday.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.